future pickers here. We just had the most unusual experience. Cool. We come to Bath, and when we first come to Bath, we hit our favourite sort of out of the town. It's still in Bath, but it's sort of just it's on its own, in its own little like sort of micro community. And we were just having a little browse, and you'll see from the footage that is coming up right now. Because I thought I'd look at this first.
That's very clever.
Yeah. And
she would just let me know what I'm supposed to do later.
Yeah. You'll see from the footage that I was just shopping like a normal human, and the woman comes up to me, who's awfully stylish, and she came up to me and said, have you got a shop or are you online? And I've never actually experienced anyone saying that to us before. Funny enough, we've been doing this for years and no one's ever just openly said it to us.
Like people who know us from the shop and stuff, like more locally, will see us in the shops and know that.
Yeah.
But no one who doesn't know us from Adam or Eve would just come up to us and announce that now.
So anyway, so obviously we had a chat, and she showed us.
She was lovely.
That they actually keep a few items out the back in that store which are worth a bit more, and they sort of, as from far as I can see, they don't sell online. She said categorically they're not allowed to sell online.
At one point,
however, but it seems to me there are higher priced items they want a bit more money for, and they save for certain customers or people that are looking for it.
So you'll see, obviously Bethany said the items we'll be showing them now in a minute, but yeah, it was kind of crazy and interesting based on the fact that the items weren't necessarily a Gucci or a...
No, they're very niche. They're very niche, high end.
Yeah, things you've probably heard of, some maybe you haven't. It was quite interesting though, wasn't it? Yeah,
it's very, very interesting, and obviously that's the key. Like, the key is here, because I think she will watch this because she took all our details, but the key is here is relationships. It's relationships with people. That, like, charity shops are just any other shop, and despite what the massive general public may think, is they don't care whether you're a reseller or Jan from next door. If you're spending money with them and you're donating to the charity, and you know you're nice, you're friendly, you're having a conversation, like, I'm more than happy, I said to the lady, I'm more than happy to offer any authentication, just like I do to you guys, in these charity shops. The amount of charity shops that turn me down because they don't want us to have first dibs, if you will.
Do you know what the funny thing was, we actually made it quite clear that some of the bits which she showed us we didn't buy, because once again what they were looking for is very sorry, I'm driving as well, some of the bits
it didn't work for us in our business
financially, and she was totally cool with it and she totally understood. But the same token, if you're going in there and buying something for yourself, great. And I will say that they are like, don't always treat it as if kind of us and them. I think that's a big problem, and we've done it before now when we first started, for sure, but because we've done this a long time, I think if you're just honest and open, the worst they can say, they can be a bit off, and we've had that before as well, but the worst they can say is, well, okay, we're still spending money, so they're still going to have a decent rapport with you. They're not going to say, why don't your money, because you're going to resell it. If you really
want the pieces that they show you, like showed us some trousers and things like that, then you put your money where your mouth is, and etc. If you can do without them, then that's cool, move on too. Like, it's a business transaction at the end of the day.
Yes.
They're there, charity shops are there to make as much money for the charities, which we obviously totally respect. As resellers, we spend thousands and thousands a month in charity shops,
and we also spent in that shop too today.
We bought something else, and so it's just about making that a relationship. Don't be afraid to ask.
And don't be afraid to say no as well. On the flip side of that,
don't be afraid to say no.
Like, if someone shows you something because maybe you're like expert in golf clubs, or you're an expert in, I don't know, whatever it might be, clothes for us, for example, whatever. If they say, oh well, we'll look at you looking, but don't feel bad, because at the end of the day, it is still a kind of a business transaction.
Yes.
You know, so in that respect, don't kind of feel compelled, oh, it's for charity. Like, as much as literally we want to make as much money for charity, we all do. Like, charities are good things. Let's not beat around the bush. But at the same token, we're doing this to make money also. So it's got to work for both parties, and they totally get that. They totally understand it. And she was amazing.
And we also forget a lot of the time that charity shops are retail stores. So they're not made for resellers. So if you're just going to step in and you really want some Isabel Marant shoes and they're 50 quid, that's a mad deal.
Yeah.
But for you and for me, it might not be if I want to resell, but that's not the concern of the charity shop.
They're not concerned with that, and we know that. We've done in past videos.
So for them to work with us is fantastic. Also, a side note, if you're ever in, a big shout out to I think it's Mercy for
Mercy in
Children,
Action.
Mercy in Action.
Mercy. Yeah, I think it's Mercy.
I'll put like a screenshot here or whatever, and it's in the Widcombe location, but there are like I think there's about 4 in Bath city centre, and then there's a few in other places like Peacetown, St John, Trowbridge. If you're ever picking in Bath, then pop over to the Widcombe shop and
They're
check it
genuinely a
out.
pleasure to deal with as well.
Yeah, it's such a lovely shop. It's actually one of our favourites in Bath, if not our favourite. And it was a lush conversation, and it was just really nice to I don't know, it sounds really weird and I don't want to sound like a sap or anything, but it's just nice to be not acknowledged, what's the word?
I was going to say respected. I feel like we were respected like human beings as opposed to those reseller types.
Yeah.
Like, because we are, like, that's what we do. That's what we base everything we earn our money on. And I think sometimes people are a bit scared to kind of class themselves as resellers. Some people love it. But I think on the flip side, not everyone is like, oh, great, resellers. Like, that's not that kind of a narrative that's out there. So I think when someone actually approaches you in a positive way, it makes you feel better. It makes you feel like you're doing something which isn't just like I'm a bit of a dealer, I'm a bit of a Del Boy. Like, not there's anything wrong with Del Boy, we all love Del Boy, but you know what I mean. It's a little bit more legit. Let's put it that way, you know.
Anyway, super cool. I'll probably put the footage in here, maybe, and then we're gonna carry on our pick, because we didn't expect that really. It came as quite a. Doesn't normally happen. We normally just go about business and
so true.
Get on with our lives. Anyway, so we've got to find a parking space at Christmas time in Bath. So wish us luck.
Bye.
So these are a couple of the items that she showed us. I've put the logos over her face to obviously respect her life. But this was the first thing that she basically said she doesn't necessarily put them out on the shop floor because they want a bit more for them. I don't know if that means they're going to put them out on the shop floor. I don't know. Anyway.
Sorry to interrupt you, but they said they didn't put them online as well. They tried to do that once or twice before, but they actually got kind of...
They're not allowed to
told they can't do it online. So I'm guessing they just wait till they maybe think someone like us come along and maybe... I don't know.
Bizarre. Anyway, it's a Comme des Garçons. I've included just then the different logos from Comme des Garçons, the brand. Obviously, there are different stages of like the company, and that was Comme des Garçons shirt, but it was a sweater vest, you see, but it was missing multiple buttons, and this is what we were discussing there. These were some high tech or high use by Claire Campbell trousers, which were actually really impressive, right?
They're really cool.
You're looking out for that logo, but there is different areas of the brand, etc. And then lastly, she brought out these what I would call Lagen look pieces.
They're like the largest I think, like the most Lagen looking things you can imagine.
Yeah, but they're from a brand called Transit Par Such, which is what I would call a sort of mid-par Lagen look brand. Very similar to Griziers or Sahara or, I don't know, Ichiko or Oshka.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
I'm with you. It's very much looking like that, actually.
Yeah, linen pieces, which were actually really nice. I actually particularly like these. I think they were really cool and they would probably sell really well. Now, my only issue here, and obviously huge respect to the charity shop and of the raising money for charity, etc., is the price points. So the lady told us that she didn't put them on the shop floor because she wouldn't necessarily get the price points they wanted from the average customer. So this is an Isabel Marant bag. We probably would have had this if it wasn't so damaged. It's sort of
like a leather and suede.
Very like new Bucky, like it's got the perforated side, but look at the color.
There's a lot of color transfer.
Yes,
that's what you're trying to say, was it? And there's also one or two marks of like pen, very lightly. The bag itself was a lovely bag, but once again, it's a lot older as well. I'll be really honest. Yeah. It's not a new bag from Isabel Marant,
and it's not in amazing condition. Like it is what it is. It's a used Isabel Marant bag, right?
For anyone wondering, that was a chap who tried to get past me and thought that was an extra bit of the shop, and I said, actually, that's just the back room. Sorry, mate.
Now, I think, obviously, there are dealers that go to this store and are willing to pay a significant amount of money for things.
Obviously, depending on the thing.
Part of our job, as we've always said, that charity shopping, although it seems like we do a lot of it, is a very small amount of what we do as a business.
Yeah.
So we aren't necessarily looking to go in and have things handed to us. We like a treasure hunt. We enjoy a treasure hunt.
And when you say that, don't get me wrong, if someone wants to throw something my way and it's cheap, that's different. But what you're saying is I could find any of those items in various other ways of sourcing for cheaper than they wanted for those. So if it had been hung for the money they wanted, we wouldn't have bought them. In the same way we didn't buy them because of what she was looking for to have.
And the element of pressure is brought in because obviously someone brings them to you.
You feel compelled.
Yeah, but you should never feel like that. It's what works best for your business. So she wanted £50 for the high-tech trousers. They had a post-it note on, as you can see, that retail was plus £4.80, which is correct. However, we would probably get about 150 to 175 for that pair of trousers. Was I going to Bath today to look to spend £50 on one item?
No, you weren't.
That to me isn't a Gucci, it isn't a Versace, it's not, it's not a...
Once again, I go back to the thing, and I say this to you a lot of the time, even at a boot sale. If they were hung in a charity shop, like just hanging waiting for you for £50, you would have walked past them and not take a second glance.
No.
However, because they're brought to you, like you say, kind of spoon-fed, you almost feel compelled that you're buying from her.
It's an interesting conversation, because I was very tempted, because obviously to anyone else, and probably to you watching, that's 3 times my money. It is... But you've removed all the fun for me.
And do you know what? Yeah, it does. And it's not just even the fun. I'll be really honest. Being more business-minded as opposed to the fun, which I actually happen to agree with you about it. Yeah. Most of our stuff, not everything, so don't quote me, but most of our stuff, we try and get 10x back. So if we spend £5-6, we want about £50 or £60, right? Average, yeah? Yes. I'm talking about our better, if you will, kind of more, not high-end, but, higher-end high street, so to speak. So based on that, if I'm going to spend £50... I really need to be looking at them 500. They were 500. They weren't 500 brand new. There's no way in the world I'll get anywhere near that.
And that's just our business model and our choice. Obviously, for anyone else, or if however you want to play it, it's great, right? So we offered off the bat, before she told us what she wanted, we offered 20 for the high tech, which is more than we would pay off peg. Yep. Traditionally, because I found high tech anywhere from a couple
pounds right through to 40.
Yeah. And it purely depends on the item mainly, but also depends on, if you want that piece in your store, etc., how much you want that piece in your store. There's so many variables. And honestly, I believe more than anyone else, we believe in paying up for things. We pay thousands for handbags, we pay hundreds for small leathers, hundreds for shoes.
For the right pieces.
But it's for the right pieces. Now, we left the Isabel Marant. We wouldn't have taken the Isabel Marant anyway, just because of the damage. That's straight off the bat. That you can't take red out of white unless you had that back redone.
And to be quite frank, I gave her the advice and I told her what I would sell it for, and she said, okay, I've made a note of, but that's what we're going to put up for in the shop.
Yeah, and we did some authentication for her as well. We offered 10 a piece on the Lagan look, which is obviously is cheaper. However, when you're doing a deal and you're buying multiple things, you're buying a bundle, so to speak, there has to be an element of give and take in negotiation, because you're bulk buying.
Also, once again, if the £50 had been, we had said yes to the £50, because that's what something she mentioned about those high trousers. Yeah. Personally, I would have expected to get them for a maximum of 10, based on the fact we're giving you a lot more than we would normally on the trousers. So it's kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul, and everyone's happy then. You know what I mean? That's just how it should be, in my opinion.
It's an interesting convo, and we'll come back to it at another stage, because I thought it was interesting, right?
It was a different start to our day.
Yes. Loving you and leaving you.